Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our Nintendo in review for 2022. We've got more to discuss. We already covered our overall thoughts on Nintendo in the year and their individual game releases, which took a while, but now we have a bit more to go through, including Switch Online this year and all the 64 games they added and everything else. In addition, we're going to go through the major headlines for the year, and if anything stands out to us, we're going to discuss it. So, to start things off, I want to start off with NSO. This is a game, or a year, where we had a ton of new big games, including Banjo-Kazooie, Majora's Mask, F-Zero X, which sadly runs at a subpar frame rate compared to the original, Mario Golf 64, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Puzzle League, Wave Race 64, Paddle 64, and Mario Parties 1 and 2, with of course a tease for GoldenEye for next year, as we now definitively know. Oh, and plus there was the fact that Nintendo added some random NSO updates too, like having these new missions now where you unlock points for playing these games or just turning them on even, and you can use those points to cash it in for like new icons based on some of these classic games. So what do we think of NSO this year? Like, NSO's been, since its inception, a bit of a divisive topic. Are we feeling better about it now that we've had more of a library added to it?
This is the first year, and it shouldn't be, this is the first year where I looked at everything they have at NSO and I said, okay, I get it. And it should not have taken this long.
Yeah, the slow rollout has kind of, it took a while for it to build.
It's a mix of the games, the mobile app, the app on the main Switch menu with all those different things, the icons, the expansion pack, like all of it together, the entirety of NSO together. It is this year now where I said, okay, I get it.
All the stuff about the icons and the missions, don't care about one bit. I'm just like, okay, cool, whatever. It's like the Game Pass missions, whatever those are. Like, I'm just, don't interrupt my game, I'm playing. But I like the N64 stuff. Even if I didn't play them that much, it's still nice to have that library of games. Banjo-Kazooie came back to Nintendo.
Yeah, that's huge.
So good. Yeah,
that's
just
awesome.
Where's Banjo-Tooie? And more importantly, where's Nuts and Bolts? Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm not really an enjoyer of the N64 games. I think a lot of my nostalgia just doesn't lie here. And then the games that I did really was looking forward to here, I did enjoy for a little bit, but I think it's tough when these are I think in a lot of cases the most bare bones ports that can exist.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Pokemon Puzzle League. I thought it was fun to just go back to that game. It's a really unique entry in the Pokemon franchise. But as much as I like Majora's Mask, it's hard to play it here when I know the 3DS one exists and had stuff in it that I think I preferred. But unfortunately, to self-report that I'm a horrible person, I do like the profile icons. I do. I don't know why. I am an enjoyer of unlocking icons and changing them on my thing, even though my stupid friends list doesn't mean anything on Switch. But right now, my icon is Gimme Ghoul, and for some reason that pleases me.
It's not.
So
I thought you were self-reporting that you preferred the 3DS version of Majora's Mask.
Oh God.
But you know what bugs me the most about this, and why I don't really prefer playing the Nintendo 64 games, because it's such a bafflingly bad thing about Nintendo Switch Online that I don't understand why we can't remove. It's
the
those
frame.
awful the frame.
Why? The frame, dude.
Why?
It's
why
awful.
Can't we remove that?
Yeah.
That is unforgivable.
Thank you, Joey. I forgot. That's for me too. It just bugs me. I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
God.
It's weird.
Should not be there. I don't know what they were thinking with having that be a requirement to be on screen. Just let us give it the option of turning it off. It's not asking for much.
Really,
is it
though.
Advertising that it's on NSO at this point
think
for them?
that's
Hey
it.
guys, this is the branding. You know it's on it. You get that
Awful.
expansion pack.
I think that's what it is for when people post their screenshots and their clips on Twitter or social media in general. You'd be like, look, see, this was from the Switch version. This was not them playing it on anything else and posting the screenshot from any other way.
Andre, as the person that does the streams for the N64 games, and I feel like I see you genuinely enjoy them most of the time. Did you have a standout that you were really glad is on the service? And also I think I learned the most about these games watching you stream them, and I know the Pilot Wings, that was a standout performance improvement. I remember seeing those videos and being oh wow, this is crazy. So is there a game on there that you were this was the one that did something?
I think there's two I would I mean, it's hard to say. Like I'm actually a fan of almost every one of these games on the. Actually, I am a fan of every one of these games on this list. Like we've had all bangers, especially the ones who grew up with these games. I love them then. I still love most of them now. And so like having games like Banjo-Kazooie and Majora's Mask on here is just really great having them all in one place. But I think the one that stood out to me is Pokemon Puzzle League. Actually, it gave me like I think I appreciate it much more now than I did as a kid. Now they can actually process how to do a puzzle game. I'm like, oh, this game's a banger. This is great. And it still holds up remarkably well. So that's a fantastic one, and especially because it kind of harkens back to an era of this crossover type thing we don't really see much these days. Like, I mean, they went all out on the Pokemon branding here and the presentation. Like, they really mimic the feel of the anime as much as they could with an N64 cartridge. We even have like FMV videos that still look pretty good, you know?
Dude, that intro, that intro is unbelievable.
I can't believe
it. Right? I can't believe it.
So, I love that. But another one is having Mario Party 2 here is great. Like, that's another classic game. Still holds up surprisingly well. Like, it's obviously the visuals are very dated, but that's still like overall like a great gameplay experience to the point that it largely carried over to Mario Party Superstars. And I'm really excited for Mario Party 3, but I think that one's going to hold all the best of the original trilogy, and I think effectively acts as DLC for Superstars. So
yeah.
So I think those I think might be the best. But also shout out to Pile Wings, as you said, it runs way better here than it ever did on 64, and that's just great to see.
Cool. Yeah. Shout out to that controller too. I love that Nintendo 64 controller.
Oh man, you're one of the few. I am too, but that's a divisive opinion. Most people are like, you need 3 hands to play. It's like, have you ever driven a stick shift car? Like, do you need 3 hands for that?
I refuse to play my N64 NSO games with any other controller. It just feels right to play it with this.
Yep.
Wow, Andre, when you do the streams, are you using that?
Not always, because I always forget to charge it beforehand. It's usually dead. And luckily for the most recent games, it's been fine. But there are instances where the games are borderline unplayable without it, because you can't remap the freaking buttons, and they don't change the button mapping to match per game. They just go by A to A, B to B. I'm like, no, Nintendo, that's terrible. Some games are basically unplayable that way, and it annoys me, where you essentially do need an N64 controller to fully enjoy them.
Yep.
Got it. Cool.
No, I am so happy Mario Party's on here. Something that when Superstars released, I felt convinced we were never going to get the N64 Mario Parties on NSO, because that just served the same purpose. Yeah. But now, as we see, this served the purpose instead of getting DLC for that game.
That was a bittersweet part of finding out Mario Party 1, 2, and 3 were coming to the service. Is that really was the death knell for freaking DLC for Superstars. I don't think it's going to happen now.
Yeah,
unless they're playing the long game, we're like, hey, let's remind them of how good the original games were, and then years down the line, they'll finally get into Superstars DLC Mario Kart style.
Oh no.
But,
you know what's funny? There actually is one game on here that I feel is better than its Switch iteration, and that is Mario Golf 64.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. If you have to play a Mario Golf game on Switch, 64 over whatever that Super. Help me out.
Okay,
Super Rush.
Of course, Super Rush. Golf Rush. Come on. So it's Mario Golf 64. Definitely prefer that game. I feel like there's a layer of depth to it that Super Rush just does not have. Glad to see it on there. I also have a soft spot for this chunky art style with these Mario characters. I just think they look cute and sweet. I don't know. Yeah.
I can't get
over style's coming back in indie games this year.
It has Penn Badgley in it. Like, do not play.
That's right.
Here's why I prefer Mario Golf 64.
Yep, that's it. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
We all knew exactly what that was.
Oh, I still can't believe that's not in Super Rush. Oh, God.
It's just such a fun thing that was actually improved even more in the GameCube one. I don't know why they dropped the power mechanic for whatever the hell they did in Mario Golf Super Rush, where, hey, your accuracy is basically random. Good. Have fun with that. So,
jeez, yeah.
Anyways, overall, I think NSO has been decent this year. Like, I mean, these are all bangers, but I still own most of these games too. So from my perspective, like, I can just go back and play them anytime I want, and they do look better on Switch by and large. And I like, in case of like Pilot Wings, it does play better, and I like the fact that I can play Mario Party 1 and 2 online. That's awesome. But by and large, like, these are, it gives me an excuse to revisit these things I already really liked. But there's not a whole lot new there for me either. So it's I would love for the consoles to get expanded, of course, on it, as has been rumored and hasn't happened yet. So
yeah, no, that's fair.
Play a Japanese version of Wave Race, so that was neat.
Good point, actually. You know what? That actually is a great point in its favor, is it does let us enjoy some variants of these games. And Wave 64 in particular was quite a bit different in Japan, because the one they put on here was a Rumble Pack version. And there were some tweaks to it, and that was fun to be able to experience, and is arguably the better version of the game, which we never had here. So if they're able to do that for like some of the other releases, if there are any other differences, that'd be cool. And, for instance, I know Japan got Harvest Moon 64, and which sucks that we haven't gotten the English one here, so I hope they rectify that one in these days. But it'd be fun if we get more Japanese exclusive games on the service that they make easily accessible for people in the US or elsewhere in the world without having to make a Japan account or something. I don't know why they have done it that way.
I wanna take a moment there to also shout out, it wasn't just N64 games. We got Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings brought to NSO as well. Earthbound Beginnings, which had previously only been released on the Wii U. So finally bringing that original Mother game to an accessible audience. And I want to highlight this because this was actually the first time I finally went through Earthbound, thanks to it being on NSO, and great game.
Earthbound is a great game. I never played Origins, which I need to. But Sega Genesis also got a ton of new games this year, and I finally beat Sonic Spinball thanks to the save state feature. So, finally did it. I don't know if it was worth it, but I'm glad I was finally. It's a game I only was able to play the first level of. I could never get past it, so it's nice I finally was able to with the save state. So
many memories of the first couple levels of that game.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, that's enough about NSO. Let's move on to the headline portion, where we're going to go over the biggest top stories of the year as it relates to Nintendo. Tress, you have a good understanding of these, so let's have you take us through this, and then whenever we come across something that interests someone, we can chime in with for a deeper discussion on it.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we're gonna divide these up mostly chronological order, not giving specific dates, but like in January this happened, February this happened. So the one thing I have listed for January, and we're not doing game releases, by the way. This is separate from game releases.
We already covered all that. Year, yeah.
The big news I had for January was Kit and Krysta leaving Nintendo because Nintendo was closing one of their offices, and not a ton of employees wanted to relocate, so including the Nintendo Minute duo left to go do their own thing. It's funny enough, not the only Nintendo people to start their own YouTube channel this year.
Yeah. Sakurai?
Yeah. Really, really great insight to the industry from that. I love that they've done that. I needed to give that special highlight to Kit and Krysta.
Yeah, real quick, because this doesn't really impact Nintendo too much, of course, but it still was kind of like a shock just to see that, because they were so intrinsic to their to being the face of Nintendo. Like, that's probably the closest thing we've had to Nintendo having a face since like Reggie left, right? Because Nintendo doesn't tend to put their developers too much in front of things. So Kit and Krysta were kind of like, the ones presenting a lot of the stuff about the games. So it was a surprise to see them gone, and it was kind of like a bit of a surprise that Nintendo didn't broaden or allow for work from home for everyone. Like, they're closing this California office, and it's a bit of a surprise that they didn't lean into the whole pandemic thing, enabling this different way of working and allowing them to stay on staff. But it is, on the other hand, it's been fun to see them on the other side of the industry being able to talk about, give their insight into what happened behind the scenes to a surprising degree. Like, I am shocked, like, especially with how that Pokemon story blew up about the Nuzlocke run and TPC not being a fan of that, which then there were some apparent contradictions that other people reporting on it, even though I don't think there ever was a contradiction, but people are interpreting it as that way. Well, it turned into a big issue. In any case, I am shocked that they've been able to say as much as they have without Nintendo coming after them. So, which I appreciate, because it's fun hearing those stories.
It really is.
All right, let's continue on, Triss.
Well, February's a bit busy, so we have quite a few headlines from February. We have from very early in February what I've labeled as the Nintendo Music Crackdown, which was basically when Nintendo started going after YouTube channels to upload their music, some that had been there for like 10 years. And this kind of led to like a big fallout of problems circulating from this. And then, strangely enough, Pokemon not long after this saying, hey, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Sound Library, you want to hear the music from the original games? Here's a website to do it. And then they just pulled the plug on it 3 months later. Nintendo and their music, very weird this year.
Yeah, because what was a big YouTube channel? Silva Gunna?
Silver Gunner.
Yeah, Silver Gunner. Yeah, they got. I think they voluntarily took down their channel after getting all those copyright strikes or whatever it was. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. Like, Nintendo doesn't provide a good way of accessing their music, and YouTube has been a good place for people to listen to it. And it's weird because like you can still find it. Like there's still tons of other copies of the music out there. So I don't know why they decided now to crack down and then not go all the way with it. I don't fully understand how that works internally. But yeah, I mean, it just sucks to see. Like it's been nice having those resources, and it sucks to see these prominent YouTubers being affected by it.
Yeah, it's just uploading music to Spotify or something, please, Nintendo. Come on.
I just wish we had those emails. I wish we knew, was it a leadership change? Was there somebody who got a new job and they said, we're not doing this anymore? Like, what was it? I'd love to know.
Did something get just too big? Nintendo's like, whoa there. Whoa, we gotta trim the hedge here.
Yeah. Well, speaking of getting too big, the next headline I have here is that the Switch hit 100 million sales this year in February. And the update on that number, I believe, was last in November, is now 114 million. Those are big milestones with the Switch this year.
I fail to be surprised anymore. I could hear Switch sold 1 billion units, and I wouldn't be surprised. This thing, it's such a stark contrast. Nintendo coming off of the Wii U, which sold 14 million units total, and now we're here on the Switch. It's just like, wow. The people during the Wii U era who said Nintendo was going to fail as a company are totally eating their words now.
To put that number in perspective, I think that's like 1 out of every 3 people in America would have. Yeah, you know what I mean? And obviously we're talking about a global product, but just to put that number in perspective, that's
part of the genius of having it be, a hybrid, but also like a portable system, because it feels more personal. You probably have multiple households with just with a couple Switches, I imagine, one for each child, and that definitely helps contribute to the sales. But yeah, putting this into better context is I believe this puts it at the number 5 best-selling console of all time, on the cusp of outselling the PlayStation 4, as well as the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. So it very well could be at number 3 now, and if not, it will be soon. And that's crazy, being just behind, or rather, coming in third to PlayStation 2 and Nintendo DS, which there is still a gap there. Like that's gonna take a while to surmount those two, but it's on the way.
If only the Switch played DVDs, then it would outsell the PS2.
Yeah. Well, to be fair with PlayStation 2, I was thinking at first like it is a console, but there was 2 versions of PlayStation 2. Like it was really enticing for people at the original one to get the Slim at the time. So like one of my friends who did that.
Yeah, and also, like I joked about the DVD thing, part of the reason why was because DVD players back then were so expensive. But then the PS2 came out, it was just like, hey, DVD player, that's what not saved the PS2, but that's what made it a big hit.
Looking at this list, there's literally less than 1 million that separate the DS from PlayStation 2. It's like, if Nintendo just would re-release the DS, they could probably sell enough to take the number 1 slot.
Wow.
They should. All right.
Well,
Switch a huge success. Not a surprise.
Next up on here, in contrast to the success of the Switch, or perhaps because of the success of the Switch, the Wii U and 3DS were announced to have their eShops closing within a year. So in February, they announced that in March of 2023, which is only a few months away now, the Wii U and 3DS eShops would be fully going offline, with the exception of you'd still be able to re-download titles you've already downloaded before. In August, they removed the ability to add funds in any conventional sense. It's just sad seeing those go. Like, there really is the end of that era, and it's kind of really hitting.
It feels like the end of multiple eras, because the Wii U has Virtual Console, and the Switch doesn't. I could play DS games on the Wii U. My only way I'm going to be able to play Spirit Tracks when I eventually get around to it is play it on the Wii U. It's on my Wii U somewhere. There's even a bunch of games, we made whole videos about this too, of games that are only available on Wii U. I believe Pushmo is one of them, right? Yeah, and it's just, that's not going to be playable anymore if you don't buy it on Wii U right now.
It's not even just games that never came out elsewhere, but even versions of games. Like, its version of Mario 3D World is different to the Switch one. Its version of New Super Mario Bros. U is different to the Switch one. You arguably better in some cases, and as minor as those differences may be, and especially if you're, for people who are all about preservation of these forms of media, it sucks in that there's really no way to access these games then once these shops close down, except for buying used game sales or used games, which will increase in value over time, or of course, piracy. neither of which are ideal, and especially for those who already have an existing catalog for these systems. Like, once these stores close down, if your hardware ever breaks and it reaches a point where Nintendo can't repair it anymore, which will eventually happen too, you're screwed. Like, you can't get these games again. That's it. Your entire library is gone.
You'll never be able to play the best version of Rayman Legends. Let's just say.
There you go. Exactly.
Well, also this year we had the Wii eShop, like just the servers not being up for a while. You couldn't access them. It's like, that would be a problem to play Stock Lewis's Punch-Out.
That was wild, how like the eShop, the Wii Shop, Wii Channel Shop, whatever, just randomly went down one day. Nintendo didn't give any update on that I think they did give an initial update saying like,
it's undergoing maintenance.
Yeah, it was, I forget what it was. It's something really vague. Then it eventually popped back on months later after, most people I imagine had given up hope. And it still runs, I think it's still running now, so you can still technically re-download your Wii purchases, which is awesome, but that that is not going to be the case for much longer, obviously. So, nice.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay, because I was not here for when it went down, but I had to report on it going back up, and I was like, what are we even talking about? Like,
I think you need to watch our previous coverage to understand the context of,
Somebody tripped on a server power cord, and they're like, oh no, which server is it?
Okay, well, this next story I think is going to make Joey happy, right?
Yeah, I'm going to let Joey handle Metroid Prime 4 getting concept art posted.
Okay, this was weird, right? Especially back then it was hype, but now I'm just like, why did this happen? Here's the true story, to my understanding. Some social media intern at Retro Studios wanted to cause chaos. So what did this person do? Well, they decided to change the Retro Studios Twitter banner to some what looks like Metroid Prime 4 concept art, which shows like some blue background. I can't make out exactly what it is. Some kind of hallway with a silhouette of what looks like Samus or Dark Samus. And that's it. That's what happened. That caused the whole internet to go awry. Like, oh my gosh, we must be getting an announcement soon. 9, 10, 11 months later, however long it's been, like, nothing came from this. So, very random. I just like, we still don't.
What year was that? What year was that logo reveal?
2017.
Dear God.
I know.
Dear God.
Well, what year was the reboot? Was it 2 years after with the reboot?
It was January 2019. We're approaching the 4-year mark. So,
which means we have your annual videos coming up then, Joey, about it.
Oh my God. Can I not? Can I not, please? I don't know. There's nothing to talk about, Andre.
Joey, you're in that hut outside Retro Studios all the time, just looking in.
That's true.
I feel like that was sort of Samus in a ship or something like underground.
It looks like it.
So maybe something.
The hallway looked like something designed by H.R. Geiger. So I'm not sure exactly.
It's such an interesting decision that led to nothing. So I feel like it probably was some level of sowing the seeds of chaos, like you mentioned.
Yeah, like my goodness.
I mean,
I'm done.
Was that like a true story you'd heard, Joey, or like a report?
I made it up completely.
Okay, that's what it wouldn't be surprising if that was
right. The fact that it's still up, it's just this was definitely intentional.
Up. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm not. Please, God, 2023, show us something. It's been 4 years since this project restarted. We need to see something now.
We'll talk about that in our 2023 discussion.
We're starting it right now.
Joey's got to get a few things off his chest.
I'm taking it over.
Well, our next headlight here for February is one Jake and Joey might be able to say a little bit more on as well, because it's Nintendo adjacent in this case, as it was largely considered for a while to be the Switch's main competitor, and that's the Steam Deck getting officially released. Yeah,
Give
Jake,
it to us.
There it is. Huzzah!
I didn't get one yet. Part of me just wants to wait for the Steam Deck 2, because some of the more modern games have trouble running on it. But yeah, what a cool piece of tech, right, Jake? You have it. You can speak on it more than I can.
Yeah, the Steam Deck is really cool, and I think like half of the fun of it is just that it as a thing is cool, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And man, there was a cavalcade of stories this year of people being like, oh, we gotta compare the Steam Deck and the Switch. Here's why the Steam Deck makes the Switch dumb. And I do not understand that perspective. I just don't see them as comparable devices, even though they both have screens, I guess, is the similarity. They're just like completely different use cases. I think this is like, it's just heavy, and it's like an event to get ready, make sure you have your charge, make sure the game is downloaded and updated, like to play a game on here. And half of the game is the tinkering and the changing of the settings, and that's like fun in its own way. And that's not what I'm doing on Switch, you know what I mean? Like, I've got Rogue Legacy 2 on Steam. I've also got it on Switch. I'm playing it on Switch every goddamn time. Okay, because that's just it's just easier to turn my Switch has actual sleep mode. Steam Deck has fake sleep mode. Like, it's all that stuff. So it's just bad. It's not good. It's not good.
The Switch 2 sounded like a big step back from the Switch right now.
right. Please.
Yeah, and like you were saying that there's so many opinion pieces about how like, oh, the Steam Deck has made the Switch irrelevant to me, and that's the two big words at the end, to me. Not to everybody else. Like, I don't want to say like other people's experiences are invaluable, but I also do feel like what's the point of you writing a whole article about this? Because yes, maybe the Steam Deck is technically, not maybe, it is definitely technically a more powerful machine than the Switch, but its purposes are so different. You're not getting Steam Deck exclusive games. And to be honest, most people are just, from what I understand, most people are just playing like games they already had on Steam for years already. Because let's be real, you can't really play the most modern games on the Steam Deck without serious compromises or literally going into the BIOS and changing like how much VRAM your system is using. It's totally different markets, right?
Yeah, and I think for me, just personally, like, I have a really hard time gaming on PC. I'm just like not interested in a mouse and keyboard. And and I'm also like not really interested in like the highest spec, latest and greatest games either. And if I'm gonna play those, I just need it to be for my like ease of use, like on PlayStation 5, something like that. So for me, the Steam Deck is like, oh my god, I finally have a relatively easy entry point for some of the PC games that I do want to play. Like, it's cool that I can do my dailies in multiverses on Steam.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what? It's like that's cool, and that's something that, like, you know, that game's not on Switch. It's kind of cool to have that in a handheld. And every so often, there are some PC indie games that, like, heck yeah, I'll check that out on Steam.
Talk about Vampire Survivors again, Jake.
Vampire Survivors. There you go. That's a great game for
DLC
Steam Deck.
just today. No.
That's true.
But I think
if you like M&M McFlurries, it's Vampire Survivors.
Yeah. Steam Deck for me, I think it'd be a handy option, like to use the dock and hook it up to a TV for some of those indie games that come out way earlier on Steam than on Switch, and just having it though, like. There's always a problem with PC games. Like, my friend, he was showing me Portal RTX on his like ray tracing the other day, and it's like, look, I'm gonna change through all these settings. Like, I remember doing this on PC. I'm glad I haven't had to in years. Like, I do not miss this, changing all the settings, seeing what runs the best.
I still do that. I was just doing that like with The Witcher on PC. I'm just like, I'm going back and forth between the pause. That's how every game I start on PC is. Like, how do I get this? And I'm like, yeah, it's
really
it's
quick, since it just occurred to me two standout Steam use cases that I think the Switch or a future Switch could learn from. One, I can, on my Steam friends list, I can hit them up and party chat with them directly through this thing.
Nice.
And that is cool. That is cool, and it works. And then the second one is that I do a lot of PlayStation remote play on this, and that's something that I feel like I can't believe how well it works. I don't want to use the TV for whatever reason, just pulling it up on there, a little remote play app, playing it on the deck. It works super well. Really cool. And I like all the different control options, how it's all mappable. There's stuff to, like, you know, take in here, but that doesn't mean it's like these devices are not in competition with each other even a little bit. Yeah.
We had a discussion, basically, I think the moment the Steam Deck was announced, where we've basically said that, and I think that has been shown to be true, assuming I was looking up the sales numbers for it, and it looks like as of October, It's been reported that it sold 1 million units, which, hey, for what it is, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
But it's still ultimately a niche device. Like, this is not competing with the Switch. They could sell 2 million this year. It's not going to approach Switch numbers at all.
No.
Even more than that. And that's fine. It's not aiming to compete with the Switch. It's tapping into a very specific market that wants to play PC games on the go, and that's completely fine. It's just like, anyone who looks at it as being a problem for Nintendo that's not an accurate way of framing it. So
not at all.
But I'm happy for the Steam Deck success, and I do hope that Nintendo, it looks at what it does well and incorporates ideas from it into their next Switch.
It's been nice to see them learning from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, hey, a rising tide raises all ships, right? So.
And hey, Valve, please remember you also have VR to keep improving. Thank you.
Indeed. All right, what's next, Tris?
Well, next up is in March, and it's a bit sadder news because Advance Wars got delayed again. It was originally delayed from its December 2021 release date, shown off in the February Nintendo Direct, which, woo, Nintendo Direct in February. And then in March gets delayed again because of the state of the world currently. And it is still indefinitely delayed.
There will never be another Advance Wars game after this one. Mark my words, never. So get the physical copy. This is it. Yeah. There will never be another one. Yeah.
I mean, there might be a person who has the only one who somehow got access to the early for one individual. The game somehow unlocked for them, and they were able to play the entire game. But I guess Nintendo, going by what they said, reached out to them and were like, "Stop it!" Even though
I believe they pushed an update that made them lose access to it like the next day or two. Like it was. I don't think they went. I don't think they got to the whole game. If I remember.
No, they didn't play through the whole game, but it's to my understanding. I could be off base. You may have looked into this more recently, Tris. It was my understanding that they had avoided that update by playing the system offline, and they knew that would happen when they logged online next or whatever.
I see.
So I think they purposefully broke the game themselves by updating the system. So
I see.
I could be wrong. I don't remember. Crazy story though.
It's wild, and it's very unfortunate.
It is. I mean, it's unfortunate for the developer being Way Forward Games. It's unfortunate for fans of the series who are looking forward to playing it.
Finally, a new Advance Wars game.
But also, and of course, it's unfortunate that the circumstances exist in which this had to happen in the first place. And now Nintendo, I actually respect Nintendo for this delay. I mean, I think it would have been a rough game to release in that period. But now they're in this awkward position of when the hell did they release it? This war seemingly has no end in sight, which sucks. And there's not going to be a great time to release it. Now, it could be that now that the war isn't really at the top of the headlines anymore, so maybe Nintendo could release it without it being an issue. I don't know. It's just awkward all around, I think, at this point. And I wonder if Nintendo's kicking themselves in. We should release this back for its original release date. Avoid the problem entirely, but
weirdly, this is one of the most material stances against war from a corporation that I could name.
Yeah.
Great point. Yep.
Especially in an industry where war games are everywhere.
Call of Duty is huge. Right
yeah,
now.
To have somebody actually have a legitimate stance about this. It's almost shock. I almost think we don't engage with it because it's so hard to even imagine that that's the case.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good point. I mean, and it's interesting how people can interpret the story in different ways. I think it's respectful of Nintendo to do so. And even if there are of course business interests at the heart as well, Nintendo doesn't want PR backlash and all that. And of course, it's impossible to say how much of it is just out of respect for world conditions versus how much will affect sales or brand. But then there are people who are it's purely performative, it means nothing, and it's, I don't know where you draw the line, but at the end of the day, it's costing Nintendo sales. I respect that they made this decision out of respect for seemingly people going through really crappy events right now. And as you're saying, Jake, it's something you don't see all that often. So, and we still, again, we've had almost no updates on this. We don't know when it's coming out still. It may never come out. I mean, who knows? So
I'll say part of it too is maybe this game is so cheery compared to those realistic war games.
Totally, I get that. Making light. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be about another European country invading another one. It's it's too close almost, but I think and Nintendo is always cautious about this sort of thing. So it is. I do respect their decision to delay it indefinitely.
I think if anything, there might be a certain crowd of people that maybe would never have thought about justice for war crimes in Ukraine before. And now that's on their radar because a game was not released. And that means something. It's a material choice. And I'm a little impressed by that, to be honest. And the fact that it still has not come out is, it's interesting. Yeah.
I know. I was gonna say there's one person in a Discord I'm in from Ukraine, and it's like, "Are you still there?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'm still here." And it's like, "How is this possible?" But yeah.
All right. What do we have next here, Tris?
Next up in March, we got the official announcement that Super Nintendo World in Hollywood would be opening up in 2023. We have now since very recently learned it's opening this coming February. Way sooner than we thought.
I mean, it's good to have the date. We knew the park existed, right?
Yeah.
Officially up to that point, we just found out the release date, or that it was opening. Wait, what was the announcement again? That it was opening.
The announcement was that the next one opening would be Hollywood's.
Oh, it was a confirmation that it was opening in Hollywood. Got it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny because with these, Universal loves to hold off on these announcements, even though they can clearly see it being built. It's like, I see the Mushroom House. I know you're building Super Nintendo World there. Why are you holding back on announcing it?
It could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be anything, you're right.
So it's exciting that we're on the cusp now, so soon of it fully opening to everyone, because that actually is a legit shocker that they're announcing its release date, which is only 2 months from now, basically, or even less by the time people are watching this. That's absurd. I can't wait, especially with Japan being on lockdown up until recently. It was impossible to even go see the Japanese version, and now that it's open, it's like, well, I don't need to fly to Japan, but it's opening in Hollywood here in a few weeks. Even if that means, or even if it is a smaller land, and we don't get the Yoshi ride, but that ride looked lame anyway, so whatever.
Wow. Disrespect live in HD. Disrespect to Yoshi. Oh, I can't believe it.
To wrap it up, though, I've been waiting my entire life for a Nintendo theme park, so hey, I can't wait to visit this in Hollywood. So.
Nintendo, invite us to the park, to the premiere. Do it. We'll give you all the press. We'll give you all the press coverage. We promise.
If I go to that theme park, I will refuse to take a picture with Mario and only go for Bowser. Okay?
I've
got my allegiance. My allegiance is to Bowser. King.
Okay.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Cool.
Well, next up, still in March, there's a lot happening in March. We have the Nintendo Switch getting updated to version 14.0, and the big deal here was it added folders. Finally, folders to sort your potentially hundreds of Nintendo Switch games, and that's it. And from what I heard, it didn't really add that much of people.
Tris, What are you talking about? I saw this on the schedule. Again, this was before I was hired, and I turn on my Nintendo Switch. I am looking for it. What are you talking about?
Go all the way to all the way to the left where it's like the all games, and then up top you see it's like L or R to organize them. Yep, there you go. In real time. There you go, groups.
This is the definition of too little, too late.
Yes, absolutely.
My goodness. They'll find a way to give us themes and mess that up. They'll release themes after the next Nintendo console comes out at this point. Good God, Nintendo.
Yeah,
I don't know. This is kind of cool, actually. This is
only kind of
cool. Is. Like the functionality is actually pretty decent overall. I like that it actually goes beyond folders. Like it's not that. I forget what they call it. Is it groups that they call it? First?
Groups.
Yeah, because you can put one game into multiple categories. If you're multiplayer games, your Mario games, whatever. That's actually pretty neat. The thing I wish it would improve, I barely use it because I don't want to sort through my inventory, and I don't go back through my catalog enough for it to be a hassle usually. But I think what would make it give it more functionality is if you can have those groups pinned on the front page.
Yes.
That's the main issue with it. The fact that they're not pinned on the home menu means I'm never using them. And if I could access them that easily, I might use them more often.
I just want a little button, right in between, the album and, the controllers for groups. That you press that and it makes it a pop-up.
Yep.
I just want that.
That, or add a second shelf like the 3DS eShop had. Yep. I don't know. There's any number of ways they could do it. Or you just pin it to your selection of games, or just pin it so it's always there. Yeah, I think they could add it so it's even more usable. And I'd be curious to see how many people actually do use it. Mm-hmm. What's funny is when this update came out, I did the update for it, or the tour of it, because I was at Starbucks and I saw that this update had come out. I'm like, oh my god, people waiting for this forever. So like I ran home like so I could do a video on it. And I'm like out of breath during the update, and that got turned into like a bit of a Twitter meme. Be like, look at this guy, he's so excited for Folder. It's like out of
Wait,
breath.
really?
Like, no, I literally ran home to cover it. Darn it.
Oh my god.
I can't wait to watch
Half a
this.
second for this. So what, Jake?
I can't wait to watch this now. It's so funny.
Let's see it again.
Reminds me of when
They're so good. Oh man.
that reminds me of when Steve lost his meat in Smash Bros. And I ran upstairs to do that update.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. And that blew into a whole thing too. That was a big thing. So.
I remember that. That was funny.
This is so funny.
All right. Yeah,
Well-
that was the one big Switch update we got this year, I think.
I
right?
just imagine somebody hanging out at Starbucks and then they see some guy check his phone and then immediately run out.
just jump out the window.
Coffee cups like in the air, spinning, and
my
drops
God.
down.
He said something about folders. I don't... God.
Well, and next up, still in March, and the season of delays, I guess, we had a very big, very official announcement from Nintendo with Aonuma appearing on screen and apologizing because Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was delayed from its originally slated release window of 2022 to spring 2023. Or at the time, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. We didn't know the name at the time. This was actually a pretty big deal because normally when they move, like when they have to delay titles, it gets the advance wars treatment. Maybe just like, you know, a quick Twitter post in text. Or they just, like Splatoon, for example, they just, in the next trailer for it, whenever, date it. And people will notice, oh, that's different than before. So this was kind of a big deal, how very, I guess, respectfully, Aonuma came on to say, I'm sorry, it's being delayed. And then gave us a new clip that we analyzed to death anyway.
Yeah, this is Zelda, though.
Yeah.
And this happened, complete deja vu. This happened with Breath of the Wild / Zelda Wii U. He did the same exact thing.
True.
And he got on camera to apologize. He did this again. Every single Zelda game gets delayed without fail. Every mainline new entry gets delayed. And I woke up to this news, but instead of being sad about it, I was kind of like, ha, 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 it's happening again.
Yeah, I kind of wondered. I kind of wondered if that was just how everybody. I feel like at this point, there's only a suggestion of a release date. And you know what I mean? You hear a delay and it's like, well, when it was supposed to come out wasn't really real to me anyways. So you just kind of move on. You know?
All we knew at this point was they were targeting 2022. That was it.
Yeah, so they were actually kind of pretty, I guess, somewhat fairly honest about, like, we're aiming for it. We'll see if it happens or not. It actually reminds me of James Cameron recently talking about the Avatar sequels, like Avatar 2 specifically, The Way of Water, because Fox had announced years ago that they were planning for, like, some release date in, like, 2014, 2015, and James Cameron recently said, yeah, I had, like, nothing to do with that. Like, they just threw out some dates. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
I'm not aiming for those, so we'll see if they happen or not, and of course it didn't.
Or like when Iwata said, "Oh, Sakurai's working on a new Smash Bros for Wii U," and then Sakurai's like,
and
what?
Sakurai hasn't been hired yet.
Yeah, it's like, what is this? With the timing of this one, though, it's a lot about the fiscal year, and like it's also like an apology to shareholders.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
you
true.
might be expecting
Totally.
this, but just so you know, before the fiscal year ends.
You know,
I will that's probably why they even said it was 2022 in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, there are those that definitely could be factors too.
Yeah.
But I actually appreciate that Nintendo's willing to delay their games usually when it's called for, and especially for Zelda, like one of their most special franchises. That's a game that I never want them to release a game sooner at the expense of it being better or not being at the state that they're happy with. So I'm happy for it to get delayed, even if it means we have to wait even a year longer in some cases.
Yeah.
I know COVID was a thing, right? So that definitely pushed back development. I still thought it was funny how like everyone was like, they'll reuse assets from Breath of the Wild. It won't take as long as Zelda games usually do, and this feels like it's taking longer than Breath of the Wild did. So it really makes me wonder what they're cooking up there over at Nintendo for this game.
It's, I mean, probably another cooking minigame in Tears of the Kingdom.
Exactly. Yep. Boom. There it is.
All right. What do we have next?
Next up is finally in April, so we're finally out of March in the season of delays, potentially. This one isn't specifically Nintendo, but it did shake up the video game world for quite a while because Sonic the Hedgehog 2 hit theaters on Joey's birthday.
Yep.
And this was quite the experience because people already loved the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie and felt this was going to be the game changer for video game films. And then Sonic the Hedgehog 2 went and just did it so much better than the first one did.
Yep. Man, that was just... I know I like was being over dramatic last time saying it was a religious experience for me or whatever when I went to see it. But it was just like a beautiful combination of things. Like, I was in that theater on my birthday, and like there was a bunch of kids in that theater too, so I was feeling their energy too, just watching this movie. And this is a franchise that meant like so much to me as a child. And to see this movie like be really, really good, and just feeling the excitement from the other kids in the theater too. And it just felt really good to see this movie, and it was quality too. It was a quality film.
Yeah, no, it was so good. Like the hype leading up to this movie was great. The actual movie is still great. I watched it a couple times. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, so sad we have to wait so long for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, December 2024. Oh no.
It's interesting. I feel like such an outlier in this because I actually didn't like it as much as the first movie. Like, I appreciate that it was more true to the games. It felt like a sequel in the sense that the games did, and they leaned more into the level, the world design, and like they basically found a way to incorporate Sonic worlds into the story, and I appreciate that. It just didn't hit for me in the same way, though. I don't know. I didn't find it to be quite as funny or as entertaining. Maybe it was a lack of surprise factor.
I think that's it. Like, just the fact that we were all shocked Sonic the Hedgehog 1 wasn't a freaking train wreck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that might have been it. That very well could have been part of it. So I still liked it. I still had fun. It's still definitely one of the better gaming movies. I was hoping for a little bit more from it.
Andre, I liked it too. I didn't want to say anything because I'm so freaking negative in these videos for some reason. But I liked the first one too. I thought it had a little more heart.
I think that might be it. Yeah.
I think it just. Yeah, that's fine. That's enough.
Yeah, that's I don't need to dwell on it. So
yeah.
And two, a big thing is that his family is kind of on that wedding destination for a lot of it too. So they split apart.
Yeah. That's great.
That was a bit.
I don't care about the humans, right? Like, come on.
It's like the Transformers problem where they focus not nearly the same degree.
Right,
where the first movie focused so much on the humans too. It's like we don't care. It gets back to the robots.
They're so much cheaper to animate.
That's probably it.
Shout out to Ben Schwartz though. Love Ben Schwartz, Jewish King, my man. Oh man,
nice.
I can't believe
It's Sonic.
I am obsessed with the fact that he is Sonic. There's so many different directions you can go with, and I'm like, man, you chose this guy that I'm pretty sure was at my bar mitzvah. It's awesome, dude. I love this guy. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that is great.
Artros, what's next?
Well, next up on here is why I mentioned we might still be in delay season, because in the middle of April, the Mario movie was delayed from December 2022, which we are in right now, to April 7th, 2023. Basically targeting the same exact time frame as Sonic Movie 2, right after it had come out.
Cool.
And then later this year, we ended up getting the full reveal. We finally have seen trailers. We've seen quite a bit of this movie now over the last few months, comparatively. So it's interesting to look at where we were at with this movie in April versus where we were at with this movie in December.
Yeah, Andre and I had a little well, sorry, again. You can.
Just that it'll be coming out a year after this delay, basically.
Yeah, and we had a discussion about this, Andre. We were wondering what the purpose was for delaying this movie. It'd be nice if it was because they gave the animators more time, but the fact that this announcement came soon after Sonic the Hedgehog 2 came out, raked in all the dough, raked in all the good reviews, we might have theorized, like, wonder if this has, and Jake, you're probably more knowledgeable about this too, did they see that it did so well on this release date that they could have possibly maybe replicate some of that success by releasing it pretty much on the same day before technically, but what are movie release dates anymore?
I have friends that are CG artists and work on movies, and have been in my ear this whole year about how apparently that industry is falling apart.
Oh.
And they're just working to the bone. So anytime I hear about I don't know, this movie being delayed, I do think that it was a genuine, like, this isn't, like, I don't know. We've seen a lot of this movie. I don't really know a lot about the technological side of it. This seems like an incredibly high quality animated movie to me. Mm-hmm. So if you said this needed time to go through its motions or whatever, I know there was a comment made at the reveal about like the music and how like music wasn't done or something like that, and that kind of surprised me. But I also think that kind of stuff has to come when the animation is locked. So you know what I mean? So it's like, it's movies, there's a lot of different pipelines of things, and they're all dependent on each other, and one thing can really halt a bunch of other processes.
Yeah.
So through COVID and through industry problems and all sorts of different elements, you never know what the first domino is that causes everything to hold up.
Also, like, Nintendo would probably be super concerned, and if it wasn't matching their high standards of what they think it would be possible, it's almost like even though it's been so long, they couldn't fail again after the original Mario movie.
Oh, true.
Right.
So I don't know if it's that where they're having quality concerns in that angle.
I feel like there's not much you can do in 4 months in an animated movie. I'm not sure.
Joey, I think that's actually kind of a good point, because as averse to a lot of live action movies, animated movies rarely move off of the script. So there's that. I also think that the now revealed date of Super Nintendo World does indicate this movie was supposed to come out this holiday. Because it's, so now I'm like, it feels too early.
Yeah.
But it feels more in line with like a Christmas movie, and then February there's that, I don't know.
No, that makes
Because then it would align with like because then maybe it would align with like a streaming release or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess it seems now maybe the land will be promoting the movie. So,
Right.
Seems like
who knows? And there's also the possible consideration of like, competition as well. Like, it was originally going to be releasing, I think, right around the time of the new Avatar, and then of course the new Puss in Boots is out in basically the same time frame as well. So that could be a point of consideration. Hard to say exactly what the reasons were, but in any case, if it results in a better movie, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And especially based on on what we've seen already, it's like, damn, they're killing it. Like, that looks great so far. And who knows if the full movie will end up impressing on the same level, but like, they're doing all the right things right now. And I'm just really happy. I'm elated to see a Mario movie take this form. Like, man, that looks great. That's like, that's Mario in movie form. Heck yes, keep it up. So.
It has definitely been some of the most hyped news of this year. Actually getting to see it eventually.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
So, moving on to something that'll probably be a little bit quicker. We have in June, not specifically Nintendo, but June was filled with more Sonic. We had Sonic Origins getting released to celebrate this Hedgehog's anniversary, getting a bunch of the classic games together in a collection on like every platform. And then we had the proper month-long focus on Sonic Frontiers, which then released this past November. And Joey, I believe you might have more to say on Frontiers. And Andre, I know you also have more to say on Frontiers.
Yeah. But I think regardless on how differently Andre and I feel about this game, what a roller coaster that marketing was. Like, it was a mess. From the IGN first, which didn't really show off the gameplay too well, to that little 30-second Nintendo Direct footage from that June that just completely changed most people's opinion about the game. And it's just been an all-around roller coaster. But in the end result, regardless of how mixed I felt about the game, resulted in a game that most people enjoyed. And it sold 2.5 million copies. So, Sonic Frontiers.
Absolutely insane how different that game looked from pre-release to, I remember, Joey, turning on your review and being like, oh my god, this is the video game? And like, it was, and I feel like all of the post-launch, it really makes me wonder if it was a case of showing it off poorly or something just came together better in the end. Because I feel like every post-release clip I saw was better than everything I saw before the game came out.
Yeah, I'm just happy I actually liked a 3D Sonic game, so. Despite it being a bit of a bumpy ride to get to that, like.
But see, now we've got the Sonic Movie 3 that's in production, and a big part of it is Shadow. We're gearing up, baby. Shadow the Hedgehog, he's coming back. Give him the gun.
It does actually feel like
the gun.
It actually does feel like for as mixed as the Sonic reception can still be to some degree, it does feel like Sonic's like locking onto a path right now that like is like a good thing for the series. Like, I feel like they kind of honed in on on what makes Sonic good across all mediums, and even including TV shows as well. And it just feels like Sonic's like on the right road right now. Like he's had his ups and downs over the years, but it feels like Sega got back on track. I'm happy about that.
It is
He's
crazy.
going on an upward spiral.
It is crazy how much kids like Sonic. I had no idea that character had that kind of resonance with kids right now. I don't know why. But like kids love Sonic. Joey, you mentioned the kids at the movies when you went too. Like I had that same experience. Kids were losing their minds for the little guy, and like that brand has a kind of power that I think we maybe don't 100% recognize, like in the gaming space 100% of the time. And I think having this game that I think critically met their expectations and is selling well and hitting all the beats with this movie stuff, so it's kind of crazy because it's like where are they gonna go next? They're in a better place than they've been in 20 years easily.
Oh, easily, right?
Yeah.
It's good to see, but like that June was really the start of all of that, because that was Sonic's month. That really was Sonic's month. There was not much else of note, big note, that happened then. At least that made it into our highlights. But July, I know Tom is away at the moment, but he'll come back. I know in July, we got some interesting Nintendo news, different than usual, of an acquisition of a company. Nintendo acquired Dynamo Pictures, who helped them with Metroid Other M and Pikmin shorts, neither of which were recent.
I missed the Other M part. I didn't know they were involved in that.
And they renamed the company. With this acquisition, the company is now known as Nintendo Pictures. We still don't know what they're working on or what kind of projects they have in the works with it, but this was a really interesting piece of news that might signify what kind of things Nintendo's looking to up in terms of quality in their games going forward.
Yeah.
Either their games or other shorts.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Give us more Pikmin shorts, baby. Give us more Pikmin shorts. Give us good CGI cutscenes for Metroid Prime 4. Just do it. Yeah, it's very interesting what this will result in later on. Hopefully it won't take too long to figure out. It probably will. Animation takes forever, as we literally just talked about. So, yeah, very interesting purchase, I will say.
Mm-hmm. I sent a job application there, waiting to hear back. Just want to see what they'll say. Haven't gotten back to me yet, so it's still in their system if they're watching.
We'd like to hire you, Jake, as the CEO of Nintendo Pictures.
I saw it. I found it online. I was like, hell yeah, I'll send your information. Let's see what happens.
It's interesting because Nintendo's typically been adverse to buying companies. They really only do it unless they really see a significant gain for them, or if they're forced to, kind of like with Next Level Games. I think they were effectively forced to. They wanted to keep working with them. So yeah, it's interesting to see them do this. I mean, in general, I'm against acquisitions just because less competition is usually not a good thing. In this case, it's not really removing competition from the gaming scene. So I'm curious to see how it does benefit Nintendo. Are we going to get more pre-rendered cutscenes from them? Are we going to get more shorts from them? So I think it could lead to interesting things if we'll even see a difference. I mean, it's possible they'll just keep doing the same thing they were already doing. So we'll see.
I think something important to note too is that right now with the Mario movie, we're obviously super dependent on Illumination. And I do wonder if it behooves Nintendo to have a pipeline set up for animation. You're dependent on so many things, to have a group that at least has those, that horizontal integration figured out to some level of degree. You know what I mean? Projects that,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, if you really want to take this, to a possible conclusion, is Nintendo looking into doing making their own movies in-house, even, right?
Right.
And I guess for me, I actually don't like the sound of that. I like Nintendo working with companies who know what they're doing in that space to realize these dreams. I think them collaborating is what can bring out the best results of both. And we're seeing that with the theme park, for instance. And I don't know if that's what Nintendo's going with here or not, but it could be interesting if it is all the same. But I do like Nintendo, venturing out with people who know what they're doing in that space.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, next up, something we touched upon a little bit at the start of this whole conversation, but we've now reached in August when he finished the pick of the day Smash stuff all over Twitter. Masahiro Sakurai launched his YouTube channel. And I feel like this is such an underrated thing that changed the game industry. This is big deal This is honestly a big deal because this gives such a creative insight to the game industry as a whole. One of the most iconic people in the game industry in all of his processes. There's a lot that anybody can learn from these. Like his channel's fascinating.
Game development colleges are scared right now.
I feel like it's I'm not as in on it. I feel like it's lightly interesting.
I think I agree with you, Jake.
Yeah, it's.
But we're also not game developers.
That's true.
But I don't.
That's a part of it.
I don't think it gets that deep. I don't a lot of what Sakurai talks about. I feel like if you're a critical reader of the text being video games, you can kind of suss out. Like as a Smash Brothers freak, a lot of the times when he talks about that game, I'm like, yeah, he's describing the things I love about the game, the things that we talked about in some of our Game of the Year discussions too. But I think some of the like behind the scenes art and things is really cool. But I kind of feel that it's a little aimless at the moment, and I'm not really sure like where, like why. I'm not understanding his entire passion behind the project at this moment, except I do have a secret theory that this is a backdoor pilot for him to do a new version of the Smash Dojo in the future.
Oh my goodness.
I do believe that is what is happening. He is setting
get my
up
hopes up.
Yeah. So that's whatever. That would be cool.
I think the reason why it feels aimless to passion towards the project in general is because it's his passion for games in general, creating them, playing them, anything he has to do with them that we've seen pretty much throughout his entire career, and it's all being documented in a way that definitely, when you look at the spread of it, feels kind of random in different areas. But it's to show the all-encompassing, all the different elements and sides of games that he enjoys and is passionate about, all being put into one thing, which you don't see a lot of.
I love the channel. I love that it exists. The news that he was making it like really surprised me, and he has some really interesting videos on the channel, including the fact that we're getting some behind-the-scenes details about the development of famous Nintendo games that we have not had before, like with him showing the first footage of the early version of Smash Brothers in 64. That's awesome that he finally has a vehicle and the permission to show this stuff. It's great. But I'm kind of with Jake. I feel like it's not making as big of an impact as I suspected it might and hoped it would. And I think just because he by acknowledgement, is not going in deep on these topics. Like, they're very shallow, top-level stuff, or not even top, just, shallow, like, overviews of these topics, which is still interesting. I'm still getting insight out of it, but I wish these were longer. Like, 3 minutes isn't enough to really delve into, like, everything you've learned. I think there's so much more he could impart upon people if he would dive in a little bit deeper. And maybe that doesn't interest him. That's totally fine. He owes us nothing. He's already giving us more than I expected, ever from a developer of his size. It's like, man, I think there could be something really special there. He's not quite hitting it yet.
I think part of it is that he has to always stop himself before revealing, like, what they call industry secrets. Like, he'll mention how everything's in an Excel spreadsheet for Smash Brothers, and different people can access that now. But then he's like, well, I can't go any deeper than that, because otherwise I'll give our tips of our hands. But, like, I think other developers would know that already. So...
Right.
Every time I'm watching his video, I'm like, oh my god, it's getting good. Like, we're gonna get to the good stuff. Then that freaking loading bar pops up. He's like, I'm done. That's it. It's like, no, what are you doing?
The next headline brings us into September. It's one I didn't even write down. I just remembered. Should probably bring up. I know we said we weren't talking game releases here, and we're not. But Nintendo Directs is something we kind of glossed over. It's, they're good. We had our whole discussions about this. But I think I need to draw attention to how big it was that we not only finally got a title and release date for Breath of the Wild sequel, being Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, of this coming May, but we also finally got Pikmin 4 announced, teased. And I can't stress enough how big both of those things are. I can't leave them off of this. That's huge, both of those.
I remember we recorded our predictions and we were like, there's no chance Pikmin 4 is coming. There's no chance. Bam, Pikmin 4. We were like, no way. Like it was bound to happen, sure, at some point, maybe, right? But the fact that it was there was kind of like, wow.
Yeah, it was there the way that Metroid Prime 4 was there that one time.
Yeah.
Arguably more. We didn't, because we only got the logo for Metroid Prime 4. We saw a little bit of an environment. So
there were Pikmin on the screen. Oh, that's a video game, all right.
There was also a release window. There was also a release window.
That instills confidence. That does instill confidence.
Yeah, I wish they had shown more, especially after such a long wait. But at least at least this time it seems like it's around the corner, as opposed to Metroid Prime 4 when we really had no idea when that was ever going to drop, without anything being shown but a Concept Art logo. Yeah.
Nothing to lose your shirt over, unless you wanted to buy Miyamoto's Pikmin shirt.
Yes.
Yeah, it's as a Pikmin fan in general, it is just nice to know that it finally does concretely exist. And I'm looking forward to seeing more. But yes, at the time, I wish we had seen more, like, just show us what the game actually is, rather than tease it. But hey, that gave me an opportunity to analyze and throw my theories. So.
Yeah. No, it was exciting to see it not be a meme for once.
Yeah. I played Pikmin 3 for the first time on Switch this year. At the time of my life.
The best version. Nice. The best version
at
of
the
that
time of my life. It was that's such a great game. I had no idea.
Next headline for October is one that, once again, Joey is probably the main one to handle because of the Bayonetta voice actress controversy.
What a crap show. And it's so unique for me because when this story came out, I've had beaten Bayonetta 3 in the review period. So I'm one of the few people who played this game not knowing what went down. Crazy stuff. So as we know, Bayonetta's voice actor was changed from Helena Taylor to Jennifer Hale. The reason that was given to us from the Bayonetta director was, I guess there were scheduling conflicts with Helena Taylor is what they said. But then, one Saturday morning, Helena Taylor posted 4 videos on Twitter explaining what had happened. She said they only offered her $4,000 to come back as Bayonetta, and she made up a number that the franchise made $450 million, which I guess is not true, or I don't know. She says a lot of things that aren't true, as we come to find out. She says that that's all she was offered, and she was asked, and that was after she asked Hideki Kamiya for more money. But then I guess Platinum, this is where things get a little bit fuzzy. But I think it was Schreier that reported this, Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, that she was actually offered way more than that. She asked for a 6-figure sum, but she was still offered around $4,000 to $5,000 per session.
Per session.
That would have been 5 sessions in total. It was a lot more than $4,000. And none of this was ever confirmed by Platinum. This was all stuff that was leaked from insiders, apparently. Helena Taylor, man. I can't believe she just... the stuff she said later. She admitted it was all true, right? Like, but she said...
Basically, yeah. Without saying as such, she
without saying
it, yeah.
She didn't like say like I lied, but she basically restructured everything, saying like, oh yeah, like that's totally what happened. But she lied by what was it? What's the term? She lied by submission.
Basically.
Lied by omission.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, to be fully, I guess as fair as possible. Like to my memory, she didn't say anything that was necessarily untrue.
Right.
But the overall picture she painted was not faithful, seemingly, to what actually happened.
Yeah. What got me was she didn't act like she did anything wrong, and she just said, "Yeah, so what?" Like she just straight up lied by omission. And even though she asked people to boycott this game, like that didn't happen. I don't know if it was the best-selling Bayonetta 3 game, but it still sold a lot. So.
And best action at Game Awards.
She basically painted a picture of what the cameo appearance price would be. Like that she heard about a year later. And also at one point Platinum put their support for Jennifer Hale, I believe.
Yeah, and Jennifer Hale made a statement too, saying basically saying she can't say anything, right? NDA. But she basically said she hopes both parties can like fix this and stuff. Like, yeah, it was a statement, but of course you couldn't really say much because NDAs, right? So all around, what a messy situation.
And I think zooming out, this obviously played a role in an ongoing conversation that has been a huge part of the video game industry as a whole, that is not in regards just to voice actors, but also unions. Because which is funny considering the replacement voice actors association with and being such a strong proponent of unions. But I think there were a lot of bad takes about this situation. Oh boy. Yeah. But I think when you really break it down and look at it, what people are responding to and why people get emotional about this issue is because you see a corporation like Nintendo who has, however you want to look at it, a lot of money at the top, at the corporate level, at the executive level, and then all of these workers at the bottom, people working on the game, people providing the voices for these characters, whoever it may be, again, not trying to be specific to voice actors, but who manufacture, who create a lot of the value that is found in the products, not yielding the benefits, not yielding the value that they are creating, and instead a disproportionate amount of that value going to the people at the top who have, some would say, little to do with that value being generated. And I think that's like the key of what strikes a chord with people here in general. And that's something that I think a lot of people were really ready to get behind with Helena Taylor when that story broke.
I don't know about you. I think a lot of us were really just convinced at first, like, she totally got screwed. Because this happens to voice actors. It's very common, unfortunately. Yes. Big, like, characters who voiced actors who voiced main characters. Like, we weren't surprised. Like, I wasn't surprised either. Like, I totally would have believed that this happened, but the truth was stretched, and as a result, it's just made things harder for voice actors who are trying to, like, be dealt better hands in this industry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what disappoints me the most out of this conversation is her initial statements then made other voice actors across the industry like step forward, like, yeah, I've worked with X company and pay sucked, and they were talking about what this was like, and people were like starting to really generate pay. This was generating more attention than usual for this issue in the voice acting industry for games especially, and people started to actually get behind this for once finally. And then the platinum side of it came out from the reports, and then she did not paint herself in the best light even further. And then people took that to mean, oh, well, if she actually did this, a lot of the other voice actors are probably lying too, and then just dismissed most of the issue. And it made the entire situation for voice actors so much more difficult. And I feel so bad for them for how this all played out.
Yep. And I don't miss her as Bayonetta anymore, so.
Yeah, fake news hurts the movement. And again, like, I think a lot of people make this a voice actor issue. This is not a voice actor.
Yes.
This is a worker owning class issue. And I think that, like, sometimes when we put things in these boxes and it's like, oh, it's about Helena Taylor, it's about this, it's about that, and then the details come out and it turns out it doesn't align with the value. We can't get behind people. We got to get behind the values.
Yeah.
And so that's
Well, our final headline that we have on here
ending on a high note.
Yeah, right? Unfortunately, is one that's very recent. Obviously, we could have gone with something nice, happy, special releases, but this is one that's been developing for a little while, and Jake did a fantastic job reporting on. So I'm gonna toss it to Jake to run us through the whole thing going on with
Oh god,
Nintendo.
Let's not cover the whole thing.
I'm not covering
absolutely not the whole thing, but like
I will do a brief Game Awards thing after this really quick. Okay.
Yeah, we'll end on high note with the Game Awards. Okay.
So word comes on down that local grassroots Smash Brothers tournaments no go. We are only doing officially licensed tournaments now. Nintendo says one thing, local grassroots, they say another thing. They're in conflict with each other. They're lying, he's lying, whatever. The only thing that we can really make heads of is that there is this CEO of this officially licensed group by Nintendo, Panda Global, who's like running around these events like a mobster, being weird. Everybody comes out of the Twitter spaces to go, this guy's crazy. And then he decides, you know what my best defense is? Okay, I'm gonna step down from my position, though I still own primary stock of this group, so that means a whole heck of a lot. And I'm going to put on Twitter a 35-page essay with evidence about how not guilty I am. And I gotta tell you, I read that essay, and oh boy, does it read like he is guilty. So my man needs to get it together, okay? I understand, hey, listen, maybe a lot of, I don't know what the reading comprehension is out there in the Smash community, but this was not a good move. It is insane. And it was honestly, like, we've been really busy, so I haven't been able to cover it, but I read through that whole thing, and I think I was gonna make the case to you all that I don't even want to talk about this man anymore. This is no, absolutely not.
No, I mostly like jokes aside about the grand scale of it all, the main reason why I really bring this up is because this was really the one time that Nintendo was working with the community to really support a game. And it is blown up. They're trying.
Tris, that's not really it. That's not really it, because licensing an esports corporation is not working with the community.
Now you're right, but if even that has blown up, do you really think Nintendo's gonna want to take the further steps past that if they can't even get this one thing going right?
I'm really curious about the legal ramifications of this and if anybody's looking into it. I don't know what the deal is with running a video game tournament and needing that to be... I'm just curious if anybody ever tried to push back on that and how that would come down. At what point is the video game tournament illegal if the studio that owns that game says they don't want you to do? I don't know. That to me is the most interesting part of it.
Yeah, my school used to have like Smash Brothers tournaments.
Me too.
Growing up, like, was that? Yeah, did that cross the line? Is it because can you not legally advertise as being Smash Brothers? Kind of like, you know, the Super Bowl. You can't mention the Super Bowl for any of your related products or services you're selling during that time.
Just call it Flash Mothers. Like.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Is it when money is on the line? How much money has to be on the line? How much? Like, there's so many the logistics of this in regards to like other sports and things vary greatly. So I would be curious to know.
Yeah.
I think a couple broader points about this is, I mean, I think as Tris was kind of touching on, it's like, does Nintendo want to go near this community at all now?
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
It's something like the community, you know, there's something about the Smash community, and not the whole community, of course, but there are just fractions of it, or factions, I should say, that it's hard to even put into words. Like, it just seems like there's a lot of toxicity in this community, and this is only kind of semi-related to what's happening here, but it seems difficult to work within this framework and make it family-friendly. I don't know if that's something Nintendo is even going to pursue at this point, if they're even interested in doing so, because it just seems like every time they've tried something, it just blows up in some way.
Yeah.
And on top of that, too, we see Nintendo take a very unusual stance in this case, where didn't they issue another apology for this? Like, was there some kind of like explanation, perhaps? This is something they went into an unusual amount of detail regarding this. I forget what exactly they said.
So what it was is that the original group said Nintendo has forced us to shut down our events for the rest of 2022. And Nintendo came back and said, wait, we didn't give you a license for 2023, but we didn't say anything about these 2022 events. You're lying. Which was really weird. And just on the point of it being kind of like a dangerous community to be involved in, I do think something that is often overlooked is how similar it is to professional sports and the way that when those are not regulated, I mean, we see even with like the way college athletes or Olympic athletes are mistreated, and how there is a need for a fair governing body that is a proponent to the people. You know what I mean? There are ways around this, and I don't know if the answer is make it illegal. I don't know. You know, So it's a whole
Yeah. It's just interesting. I mean, I feel like whenever money gets introduced into something that's meant to be fun in the first place, it just makes everything infinitely more complicated. When people start treating this as their career to be good at Smash Brothers, that's naturally going to introduce, bad actors or bad elements that you may not otherwise wanted as part of your scene for the game. So it's not that that's necessarily inherent to how it would always necessarily go, but it just seems like a tricky thing to work around, and I don't know if Nintendo's much interested in attempting so anytime soon again.
Oh, 100%. I mean, for the record, my advice to Nintendo would be walk away. Yeah. Just let them, don't talk to these people, let them do their thing. They're not making that much money anyhow.
No.
So just like, it's okay. Like, yeah.
Just turn a blind eye.
Yeah, it's just pretty wild to see, like, the withdraw of like this one little mascot game, that, party game that blow into this whole, like, official tournament community and everything that brings with it. So
yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
And really quick, let's run through our Game Awards bets. Okay, so this was a huge up and down thing. We had a lot of bets go this way, go that way, but I think what I want to highlight is, in the end, at the bottom, So Triss goes into the final round and
Yep.
falls apart on
my God.
on the bets where you can lose points.
Yep.
On the ones where you're betting on a character, I think Triss going into that round had the most points and ends
I?
with the least amount of points with 600 points. And
Wow.
what ends up being the deciding factor here on who wins, it really comes down to one bet. And that bet is so when Joey got to decide how many points this was worth, the bet was Kojima's new game is announced and it is not Death Stranding 2. Joey correctly said, no, it will be Death Stranding 2. And everyone else went the other way. But Joey only made that worth 100 points. If he made it worth any amount, Joey would have won. If it was any other amount,
Wow.
Joey would have won. So by not having conviction in his beliefs, Joey was not able to secure the W. Before I reveal who did take it, a couple of highlights. There was no homing attack from Sonic.
No.
There was no homing attack.
There was no homing attack. Keeley did hug Kojima, so that was on the
So
board.
shocking.
A huge point pickup was me forgetting Nathan Drake, of course, the Uncharted movie, did reveal himself. That was a huge 400-point pickup by Andre. And listen, so there again, it went back and forth. Spider-Man kicking, that was a whole thing, didn't happen. That was a huge point pickup. But the final scores are as follows. Triss with 600 points. Tom with 1,200 points.
Wow.
Joey with 1,400 points, tied with Andre for 1,400 points.
Epic.
Co-winners for the Game Awards betting
We did it.
special. Yeah,
Wow.
there it is.
Amazing.
That was
Yes.
it. So there's the year.
That's a great way to wrap up with me almost winning.
Same.
It's like a Mario Party. How many Mario Party games go?
Yes.
All right, that was awesome. Yeah, well, thanks for tabulating the results there, Jake. Hope everyone enjoyed that and they followed along with our TGA betting special. And that is Nintendo's year in review. That we covered pretty much everything we could and plenty more than I expected as part of our two-part series for how Nintendo performed in 2022. Stay tuned for our upcoming Nintendo 2023 discussion in which we discuss everything we know about and don't for the upcoming year. Should be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Everyone, thanks for watching. Have a happy new year and we'll catch you later. Bye.